Give Russia a chance and it will kill in mass quantities nations if necessary. No one in the Kremlin ever cared and never will for human life. Killing is the Russian way. You see, and killing the Black Sea Grain Initiative shows that clearly. Good afternoon, this is Henry Keane on UATV English, wrapping up the hard truth in easy terms in our weekly episode. Good afternoon. What is the reason to kill the initiative that can potentially cause famine and kill millions in Africa? This is bad for the image, bad for moral grounds, any grounds for good sake, but not the Russian grounds, obviously. Over 400 million people around the world rely on vital Ukrainian grain and supplies to ensure their food security, mainly in countries in Asia and Africa. By refusing to extend its participation in the Black Sea Grain Initiative, Russia has put millions of people around the world at risk of famine and provokes rising food prices. Well, wait a second. Prices? Could that be the reason for Kremlin's deliberate strategy to destabilize Asia and Africa? Well, of course it is. The Kremlin wants an acute food crisis in order to provoke a social, migration and political one. Immediately after they killed the grain deal, Russia demonstrated its true attitude to everything. The attack on the key seaports of Ukraine, Odessa and Chernomorsk, with numerous missiles and drones means the obvious peace, and any security in it, including food security, means absolutely nothing to Russia. Russia is deliberately targeting those Ukrainian cities whose security is vital to global food security. However, this is nothing new and is not surprising at all. Russia acting as it always was, as a terrorist. Russia uses terror to achieve its goal. Ukraine calls on the international community to unite their efforts to preserve the vital export of grain to the world and take a principled position on the matter. Together, we must protect the most vulnerable nations in the world that Russia is trying to harm. By taking joint and decisive action, the world must ensure that Russia's food blackmail fails and that Ukrainian food exports continue unhindered, even without any Russian permission. Simply because we cannot rely on the approval of a terrorist. Last year, the world managed to ensure Ukrainian grain exports, which had been blocked by the Russian Navy. Ukraine, the UN and Turkey managed to launch the Black Sea Grain Initiative, which has proven to be a vital lifeline for the world. Results are quite telling. Almost 33 million metric tons of agricultural products were exported to 45 countries in need.
All of us must not forget, the Black Sea is the sea of all our states and people. It does not belong to the Russian Federation. There is Ukraine, there is Turkey, Romania, Bulgaria. We talk with all the countries of the Black Sea coast, substantive pragmatic human relations, and, what is very important, legal relations. And Russia believes that the Black Sea is purely Russian. Volodymyr Zelensky, president of Ukraine, during the Aspen Security Forum meeting.
Well, thanks to the Black Sea Grain Initiative, more than half of the global supply by the United Nations World Food Programme has been covered by Ukrainian grain. Russian propaganda says whatever it says. The thief always whines about someone else's sins, right? But the fact is a fact. Around 2/3 of the overall volume of Ukrainian exports went to developing countries and to those most vulnerable to acute food insecurity in countries in Asia, Africa and Latin America. Ukraine, proving its genuine commitment to guaranteeing food security, has launched an important humanitarian program called Grain from Ukraine, initiated by President Zelensky. Within the program's framework, Ukraine provided grain free of charge to those in extreme need, especially in countries of Africa. We engaged 34 donor countries who helped fund the program and save people from the threat of famine. We are very grateful to every donor who has joined the Grain from Ukraine initiative. Every nation has a right for a stable future. Africa has the right, Asia, Europe, the world has. Today is the time to protect our collective right to stability from the threat, the terrorist Kremlin regime. You see, Ukraine has never pushed forward any additional demands to keep the deal functioning. We just wanted it functioning, and that's it. We always were open and we're stating it loud and clear. Yes, we want our grain exports to continue unabated and expand capacity within what needs more. While Russia has systematically obstructed the functioning of the deal itself and obstructed the functioning of the Joint Coordination Center in Istanbul, limiting the inspection capacity to only 1-2 vessels inspected per day. On April 29, 2023, Russia fully blocked Ukraine's Pivdenny seaport. The last grain vessel departed the port of Odessa on July 16, 2023, and as of now, Russia has fully blocked the functioning of the whole Black Sea grain initiative. Hard truth, in easy terms, it may look like by resorting to food blackmail, Russia is really trying to force the West to drop some sanctions. However, since 2022, no sanctions have been imposed on Russian food exports, and when Russia claims otherwise, it is just acting normally for Russia. It lies, trying to provoke rising of food prices to make more money for its criminal war in Ukraine. That is the real Russian goal for a food blackmail. Last year, when the initiative was introduced, grain prices around the world immediately dropped. That and other factors had a positive long-term effect. Ukraine has always been and will continue to be a reliable food security grantor for the world, including African countries. We do our part. We will deliver. The only thing we ask of the world to think of its own food security a bit and make sure no international terrorist intimidates the world. While Ukraine fights for its survival under Article 51 of the UN Charter, we continue to hear calls for abstract peace, and that, to put it mildly, is nothing but absurd to us. Most of these peace calls actually mean whatever but peace. Let me put this hard truth in easy terms for those of you who for some reason do not want to do it yourselves. I'll tell you what you want, what you really, really want. Those of you guys who wonder why Ukraine does not just sit down and negotiate an end to this war, actually want Russia to keep our land it has stolen from us. You want Russia to continue killing us, torturing us, raping us, and intimidating our people in the territories it has occupied. In case you want a concession negotiations where Ukraine loses its land, well then it is exactly what you and Russia want, and not peace. Those of you who claim Ukraine drags out the war actually mean that Ukraine must surrender as soon as possible and allow Russia to complete its genocidal against us.
Лише на території Одеської області
Over 20 people have suffered from Russian terror in Odessa region alone. Among them are 2 children. Only absolute evil can inflict such blows. There will be an answer. In addition, there will be even more consolidation of the world for defense and for joint action, even more energy for victory, even more desire for justice, the just punishment of Russia for all the crimes of this war. And this punishment will be.
You see, those calling for a halt to military aid to Ukraine want to leave Ukraine defenseless so that Russia can tear our land apart and win its criminal war. It is no peace, but an appeasement of the Kremlin's monstrosity, you see, and those to call to that are nobody but Kremlin's accomplice, whether voluntarily or not. Whoever says whatever, the Vilnius summit made Ukraine's path to NATO significantly shorter, and that is obvious. The NATO Vilnius summit was a significant milestone on Ukraine's path to membership in the alliance. NATO leaders have clearly stated that Ukraine's membership in NATO is only a matter of time and that Moscow has no say in the matter. NATO leaders agreed to remove the membership action plan from Ukraine's path, significantly shortcutting the road to the alliance after the final decision to invite Ukraine is made. The allies remain committed to increasing political and practical support for Ukraine. The Ukraine-NATO Council was formed, an international body to serve for advancing political dialogue, engagement, cooperation, and Ukraine's NATO membership that is coming, with no doubt about that. But work needs to be done first. We continue to work closely with all NATO allies on building a consensus on inviting Ukraine to join NATO, with the understanding that the actual accession will happen when conditions allow. We are confident that NATO needs Ukraine as a member today just as much as Ukraine needs to join the alliance. Ukraine has proven to be a valuable asset, not a liability, to the alliance by withstanding Russia's full-scale invasion for 1.5 years. Ukraine already defends NATO's entire eastern flank. Millions of Ukrainians are gaining experience in skills that is hard to overestimate in Europe's bloodiest war of the 21st century. And we will use our extraordinary strength tomorrow to strengthen collective security and protect Europe. And now is time for more on UATV. You ask, we answer. As simple as that. The question by Gecko times 4598, what to do with the Ukrainian migrants in Europe? Firstly, let me point out the crucial difference for you. Ukrainians abroad are mostly not migrants, but refugees. These are people who run away from the war, and when the war is over, they will mostly return to their homes, to what is left of it, at least. Secondly, we are, as a country, enormously grateful that the countries have sheltered our people, provided them roof over their heads, food, and still do support them right now. However, the majority of Ukrainians are not just sitting on the dole, but have already begun to integrate into the societies of the helping country, to learn the language, to find a job, to pay their taxes, and do everything in order not to be a burden, in order to answer what to do with migration from Ukraine. In general, well, I'm sure you're not going to like my answer, but I'll answer it anyway. Dear Europe, please help us to win the unjust, criminal, genocidal, ecocidal Russian war against our land. Don't just send cannons with no ammunition to them, but stand against oppressive fascistic Putin's regime, shoulder to shoulder with us. And after we win, Ukraine will thrive. I promise you that. And people not just leave it for any other country, but moreover, will migrate back to Ukraine as an economical and just stronghold. And you, dear user Gecko Times 4598, are welcome to come over just as well. It was me, Henry Keane, on UATV State Channel, wrapping up hard truth in easy terms for the whole free world directly from Ukraine. Ask us a question, and we'll do our best to answer it in our comments below. Like, comment, and subscribe. Your opinion matters the most to us. Stay safe and tune for more. See you very, very soon.